Hey, what's up, y'all? I know it's hard to see me behind these boxes, but there's a reason I'm doing this and I got stacks of these up here. It's because I want to make sure I check for certain details on every size to make sure my comparison is correct. Haven't done a video in a while, but I'm back to do the video for the Air Jordan 3 Retro Reimagined. And as you see, the box looks like it's worn around the edges. That's actually a graphic. So it's not really worn. You're not going to get white flakes on your hand or anything else. It's actually a pretty sturdy box for an Air Jordan 3 because if you remember, a lot of the times the boxes that are like this, they're really flimsy. These are not on this sneaker this time around. And I know the shoe doesn't come out until next year. But even the little card has that faux old graphic at the edges of it. All right. So let's jump into it. There's a lot to get into on the shoe because it's going to be a first look for a lot of people. And I'm going to go through and pull some of these out of the box as well, just so we can make sure everything kind of lines up and we'll see if there are any differences. Now that worn look, as you see, is all around the box here. It does not have, I'm putting this down real quick. It does not have a perforated edge on the tag, but hardly any of the Nike tags have that anymore. The Jordan brand shoes don't have that. I actually took one of these and ripped the label so I could see if I saw the chip underneath. Remember, that's like the first thing that I checked when I get shoes in, because I'm like, wait a minute, these aren't out yet. So when this guy dropped them off, I was like, I gotta rip the tag. And he was like, dude, I don't want you ripping the tag. I was like, yeah, but I have to check and see if everything is where it's supposed to be on the shoe. So the first thing I did was rip the tag to see if the chip is there, and the chip is underneath. You can also see the chip if you hold it at an angle. And that's really important because a lot of the times the bootleggers will not put the chips underneath because it's expensive. So it's like, why would you spend time taking a piece of metal, flat metal strip and putting it under the label? But you can see it under the label, and that's really important. And I hope you understand why I had to rip this so I could see the chip underneath. Got it? All right, so I actually want to rip it almost all the way off so I can feel it for sure because it's awfully thin to me. But this is me authenticating a shoe in real time that somebody's bringing by. Let's see how this works. All right, so I got one open already. I got stuff dropped down. Paper, elephant print paper, of course. The classic Air Jordan 3 Retro White Cement. This one has an aged look to it, so the outsole is sail. I'm going to go straight to the label, and it's Air Jordan 3 Retro. And that is Summit White, Fire Red, and Black. The stock code is DN3707-100. Now this is a 10.5. The UPC for the 10.5, 196-153-288-263. There's a 14 at the end. Like I said, I usually don't go through all of that. I'm going to pull this out because I want to see if there's a stamp. And there's no QC stamp in these. And typically there isn't a QC stamp on these boxes that have these kind of glossy interiors because it simply just kind of rubs out. And there's no QC stamp on the inside of this one. And I went through a couple of these, like I said, to make sure that it's right. There's no QC stamp on any of these. So the first thing I'm going to do is come back to my tongue because most of the knockoffs, even though the quality is really good, they get the tongue incorrect. So on this fold, when I do the close-up so you guys can see it, it's perfectly round at the top of it. That's important. That's a really good way to kind of check and see if your shoes are correct. And it's not puckered at all where the red meets the leather of the top of the tongue. And that's an important note to kind of keep in your mind when you're looking at these. The hang tag is not the big, thick plastic type that you find on the Fords and stuff like that. It is the traditional old school Nike Air hang tag, just the orange hang tag. Black eyelets, But the elephant grain is another part of it. I need to go back to the UPC though, because I gave that to you and I haven't authenticated on that one touch point. So the first thing I do is I come to the back of the tongue, and on the back of the tongue, I'm going to give you the small code, which is LN3. And the dates of production, 06-22-22 to 08-13-22. So 08-13-22, they're coming out next year. And I wish I had a stamp to gauge, but what I'm going to do is take out another pair, and hopefully you guys can still see that because I'm shooting this video by myself and I'm trying to make sure everything is on point. But I'm opening up a second pair, and I'm going in to open this up simply because I want to make sure everything is good, and I got this on camera, so I'm really just going through it. Small code LN3 06-22-22, 08-13-22. So I'm good to go on that. I'm happy with that. I'm happy with it. I'm not like bothered or anything else, and it's important that I get all of these details right up front so we can see it. And when I come back to this, what I want to do next, like I said, is the UPC. So 196-153-288-263, 196-153-288-263. Now, a lot of people, when they say they're going to do a authentication of the shoe, they don't even look at the UPC, and that just throws me for a loop every time I watch these videos. And I'm like, did somebody check the UPC? Did somebody check the dates? Did they make sure that the dates are okay? The LN3. Now, the LN3 is one of those things that I like to actually look under the insole of the shoe. So I'm going to take the paper out of this and pull out a shoe insert, okay? And the shoe insert comes right out. There's another couple of details on here, like the Jordan 11. The Jordan 3 sometimes has widow peaks, and there's a widow's peak right here at the front. I'm doing a close-up so you guys will get to look at it, and you'll get to see the stars are around the front of the bumper. You get to look at the bottom of the shoe. You get to look at everything close up. Of course, the quality of the leather, which is still coated with polyurethane, even though it's a really nice soft leather, it's still coated. So you can press it, and you're going to get a lot of wrinkles, which kind of makes it look like tumbled leather, but it's really not. That's a separation between polyurethane and the leather that's a coat on the top of the shoe. And you get a wrinkle on this material, which is really soft. So the leather is good on here. I'm happy with it. The elephant print, when I look at the elephant print, this is important because old school fakes, the elephant print didn't have any tactile, any touch to it. You couldn't feel the grain or these lines that are in the elephant print. So that's something that I always check first, because the old school fakes used to be smooth. It was a print. It was not debossed into the leather of the shoe. You do have the Nike Air at the back, and in many instances, you can look at the back and see where the placement is of the Air, the words. The placement here, everything is perfect as far as the back of the shoe. There's nothing under the flap. There's nothing there. You do have really nice stitching though, so I'm happy with that. I've taken this out, and you can see on the inside where the lasting board is, there's a small piece of tape that's holding down some of the strings, which is just kind of odd to me. I don't understand why Nike does that. But you also have the tongue has the straps, the elastic bands on the side to keep the shoe down. If you don't have elastic bands on your sneaker, you got a fake shoe. That's going to be one of the first things that you're going to look at, is to see if those elastic bands that keep the tongue in place and prevent it from slipping side to side, that's one of the first things you're going to look at, okay? You got flat laces here. That's important. You have that red in the eyelets underneath. That's important. The sail, the leather that's around the sail, the leather here, you want to touch test it and make sure that you do get some wrinkles underneath it, because these shoes do have a lot of kind of separation between the leather and the PU. All of them do. Now, I wanted to take the insole out for a couple of reasons, just to see what it says. And this is bothersome to me because it says AJ11, right? And then it has QF-8H MS 105P, and then a trademark 105P. Now, That's one of the things that I'm not certain about. That's bothering me. So I want to take it out and make sure both of these inserts are the same. If the inserts are the same, I'm not going to worry so much about it. Primarily because this shoe, which I didn't do a video authentication of the Jordan 11s, this shoe was made at the exact same time as the Cherry. As the Cherry 11. So the Cherry 11 just dropped. As we know, it's December. Right now when I'm editing this, I don't know when I'm going to edit the full video and get it up. But I'm pulling this out because AJ11QF8H, 8H, MS, 105G, and then 105. And it's a bit reversed on these. So I want to look at another pair just to make sure everything is on point here, okay? All right, so here we go. When we look at this, one of the things that I said I wanted to do was continue pulling at this label. And yeah, it's going to cost this guy some money on the shoe, but it's important to know what's good, what's real. And pulling away at this label is extremely important, even though it's going to just diminish the value of this shoe. But I can definitely see the chip under there, and I apologize to the guy, and he'll get over it. The label's fine, it's just split up now and raggedy. And the dude paid $300 a pair for these. But anyway, it's just my job to authenticate, and I'm just making sure you guys see the whole process. But the chips are real. I'm happy with that. Door was opening. 1 second. All right, so I'm jumping back again with all of the rips that I'm getting on this shoe, and I almost feel bad, but I don't, because it's important for me to know that stuff is right. And that's critical. So I'm going back to this one again, looking at 082722 LN3. I'm taking the paper out of these, and I am checking everything. Still got to do the close-up. And I am not feeling bad about pulling everything apart on these shoes. Same thing. So we do have consistency across the line on the insoles. I'm good with that. I'm also good with it because this insole super soft. The print isn't messed up. There's nothing wrong with it. I have my sticker here, but this is pretty consistent, and it is a shoe that was made at the same time as another model for Jordan brand, and that's pretty important. But I'm happy with that. I'm going to get to this close up because I want you guys to see it. Because the leather, where someone is going to be like, yo, the leather is really plush on this, it's really nice. I still see a lot of separation in that leather in the PU that's coating it. But for the history of this shoe, I'm okay with it, man. This thing is beautiful. Everything looks like it's okay for this model. And I'm just trying to squeeze that just to make sure that, you know, everything is okay. And I don't want to bend it, and I don't want to flex it because I don't want to break it, increase it, and mess this guy's, you know, business up. So everything looks good. So far, so good. That's 2 to 3 different pair that I checked for them. Everything looks good. It's consistent across the board. Let's get to that close-up so you guys can check that part of it out and get to look at some details for yourself to check your own shoes. But as of right now, I see no problems with the shoe. The widow's peak is there. Just making sure there are no other different flaws or structures that I need to talk about in the upper, and there aren't. It's a nice shoe. It's a nice shoe. I'll see you guys on this close-up in 1 second. Okay, y'all. So I wanted to get to this close-up so I could give you guys a better look at everything on the shoe. Starting with the shape of the shoe, which is really hard to say if something is fake now because the fakes look so good you can barely tell the difference. But maybe these few cues will help you out a touch to authenticate your shoes and make sure you're okay. The roundness of the tongue is important. Make sure that there isn't any puckering on the back of the tongue. Hopefully I don't have my fat end in the way here, but make sure there's no puckering on the back of the tongue. This is in great shape here. I touch test my leather here, and it doesn't collapse as much as it would if I'm touching the side of the shoe. This is the perforated section is a little bit sturdier leather, but it's still a coated kind of leather with a PU overlay, and that gives it the kind of seamless quality because leather has ridges and it has imperfections, and Jordan Brand likes to have this thing look smooth and straightforward. Now, if I'm here and I tap this, underneath my finger, you can see that wrinkle, and that tells me that I actually have a decent leather here. It's not the best leather in the world. It's not like I got a leather from a luxury company, but it's not bad at all, and it's not a whole lot of PU because you don't get a separation. But here on this section, you see all of that wrinkling where some people would say that's like tumbled leather. That is not. That's polyurethane coating that's over the top of the leather that kind of separates underneath it. Another detail that you need to see is the widow's peak right here at the front of the shoe. And more important, I always want you to see this grain of leather where you can touch it. You know, well, you can't really hear me doing that, but you can touch it and you know that you're good to go because it's not just a straight out print. I hope I have this all in front of the camera because I'm doing this by myself, which makes it a little bit more difficult sometimes. But that is it. Just wanted to make sure you got a good close-up of it, and I hope that helps you out a ton. The shoe is the Air Jordan 3 Retro Reimagined. I'm showing you the heel, which is much different than the front where you have the stars here. The heel is different as far as that print goes. That's on the heel. But that is it. Let's wrap it up. Oh, I didn't turn it and give you kind of a full 360 look at it. And then the heel where you see that heel tab is a little bit yellowed. It's a great shoe. Wish they were in my size, but these are going back to their owners. And I can tell him he's got some good sneakers here. Really good sneakers. I'll see you guys on the next one. Maybe he'll let me sell them and I can make something off of them. All right, I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.